And we are live. Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Level Up Live. I'm Dr. Sharita Gaskins-Tillett, your host. I'm so happy to have you here this evening. If you're joining us live, say hi in the comments. Feel free to post your questions in the comments. If you're watching us on the replay, hashtag replay, still post your questions because I will happily pass them along to our guest. I'm so excited to introduce one of my favorite people tonight. I'm so happy that she's able to join us. I just want to give a couple more seconds for folks to come in, and then we'll get started with the introductions. And then I'm just full disclosure, guys. I went to the eye doctor today and had my pupils dilated. So I'm not seeing that well. So I'm hoping that I can read this bio. All right. So here we go. Dr. Tolulope Olabintan is a board-certified family medicine and fellow in the American Academy of Family Physicians and board-certified with American Board of Lifestyle Medicine. She also completed a Women's Health Fellowship and is a certified HIV specialist by the American Academy of HIV Medicine. She is fondly called by her patients Dr. O. Dr. O is also the owner and CEO of Livingspring Family Medical Center, a primary care center located in Mansfield, Texas. She has over 13 years of medical experience. She helps patients live long and well, as she believes the quantity of life is just as important as the quality of life. She places emphasis on lifestyle changes that help patients thrive throughout life. Furthermore, Dr. O is a life enthusiast, a Christian, wife, and mom who enjoys good cuisine and can't get enough of the colors teal and orange. Welcome, Dr. Tolu.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me here. I am honored and delighted.
Me too. I'm honored and delighted to have you here. So, I usually like to start by having my guests take us through their journey, take us on a journey through their medical career. So, did you always know you wanted to be a physician?
Well, kind of, sort of. Starting off maybe age 8, I knew I liked taking care of people, and I wanted to be initially a nurse because the outfits were nicer.
Yes.
And
And
so
they
I
feel
thought,
like
yeah. And then I would see with time that, it was the doctors that told the nurses what to do, and the doctors were the ones that kind of ran the show. And I was like, you know what, that's something I'll do. Now, fast forward, medical school came. I actually thought peds, love kids. I'm a big I'm a big kid myself, and so I thought, why not do peds? And then it was towards the end of my third year, I got introduced to family medicine. And then I realized the part I loved about kids was being able to joke with them, play with them, but when they're sick, they're not the most fun to play with. So the idea, they're not. They bite, they
right.
kick
Yeah.
sometimes. And so I got introduced to a family physician, didn't know about the field, ironically. She was seeing an older patient who was almost 90, seeing their 60-year-old kid, and then was seeing their grandchild. So to me, I'm like, oh my goodness, I could actually make transgenerational influence
Yeah.
just in seat. So I was like, whoa, I'm sold. So I fell in love with family medicine, and the rest is history. OB-GYN was a close second. But I was
Okay.
like, yeah, but family medicine was all encompassing. I like that. I could see men, women, kids. I was like, you know what? I get to choose all at once. So that was a no-brainer for me.
Okay. And so now you are in practice in Texas.
Yes,
Have
ma'am.
you always been in that particular practice, or what did you do out of residency?
So out of residency, I didn't get enough of OB as I wanted in residency. So I decided to go for a surgical OB fellowship in rural Memphis area, Arkansas. And so I got
Oh,
to
wow.
train with OB-GYNs, got to learn C-sections, and got to do high-risk pregnancy management with OB-GYNs in our little rural clinic. So I did that for 2 years, did the fellowship, and then joined the practice there. I was doing that for about 4 years. Um, and
So
then,
now that you actually did OB and did C-sections and all of that in that practice?
yeah, so I did a
Oh, wow.
surgical
Okay.
fellowship. So there are few areas around the U.S. In rural areas actually, where there's a big need for surgical OB and physicians in general. So you,
Yeah.
as a family physician, you get to do a lot. So that's why I moved there, did the fellowship, and I stayed on as faculty and did, I mentored students, and FPOB was the name given to our subset. So I got to do that and still see, general patients as well, adults and kids. So I did that. And then afterwards, I was in practice for about 4 or 5 years, then moved to Pennsylvania, worked in I did a FQHC also in East Arkansas before I moved to Pennsylvania. Different clientele, was more suburbia.
Yeah.
And then Texas called. It was 2019. I moved
Okay.
here to Texas in 2019, September, right before COVID hit.
Oh, wow.
And I've been here ever since. And then while I was here at first, I did work at AHF, AIDS Healthcare Foundation, doing primary care for HIV patients. And
Hmm.
then COVID hit, and it was a wake up call. I lost a few friends through COVID, and
Hmm.
I known that this was something I should do, opening in practice, but I thought I would do it much later in my career. And then I realized, hey, what was I waiting on?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, here we are.
So you feel like the impact of COVID kind of made you seize the day? Was
Yeah,
that fair?
it was more I realized that I was afraid to do it. I knew people who died who had already left an impact. I thought, and they had already lived. I mean, they're dead. They've already done what they were supposed to do. So I'm like, what am I waiting for? I'm trusting to live a long life, but hey, while I'm here, why not take the day? And there was a phrase that kept coming to me over and over again. It was actually in the scripture. It says, even when I'm afraid, I'll trust you. And I realized the hiccup was fear. So once
Yeah.
I realized that I could do it afraid, I'm like, oh, no brainer. So I don't have to not be afraid to do it. That was a big light bulb moment for me. And so since then I'm like, yeah, let's just do it afraid. What's next? Let's
Yeah.
just do it afraid. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a great point. I think many things in life we don't do because of fear. We let it hold us back from so much. How were you able to overcome those fears? I mean, I know you mentioned the scripture, but kind of what was the process and the mindset set shifts that you needed to make?
So it's so interesting that there was some other mindset shift that I had maybe many years before. I didn't realize it was the same principle. I'm just thankful for the grace to reapply it. So I actually have a phobia of flying. I'm afraid
Mm,
of heights. But I realized for places I wanted to go because I love to travel, I would have to fly. So
yes.
I would just expose myself. Like I would go zip lining. I tried to go skydiving, but it didn't work out. I would do things to just like shock myself. Like just do it. You're scared. You just get over it. And then sometimes when I would fly, I would do a little drum roll with my hands on the like, all right, lift off, like a big kid.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and and I would typically do that with my kids. They would think I was doing it for them, but it was actually
And
for
little did
me.
they know, right?
And so, it was then I met people like the likes of Dr. Una. I heard about it, Entry MD, and then she resonated the same thing, do it afraid. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, um, I find so much joy doing what I do. And so if I know that it's something I'm supposed to do in the capacity that I'm supposed to do it, I need to be able to kind of control how I do it, because then I can fully express the vision that's in my heart. So
Yeah.
I knew that it was a burden. And the moment I decided that it was time to do it, that weight was lifted. Now it was a
Um,
different weight that was put on,
right. Right.
the burden of responsibility. But I was like, oh my goodness. So that's what it has been all those years, that like there's something else. There's something else. So I would try something more challenging, going to HIV care, going to OB, do different things, or work in rural areas, something to challenge me, because I felt there was something more I should be doing. So when I decided to do this, it was like, aha, this has been it.
So
So
now tell me, do you feel like all of those different places that you've been, the different things, the OB, the HIV, and we haven't even touched on the lifestyle medicine piece yet. Do you feel like all of those things were kind of bringing you to this place where you are now?
in sometimes when I talk with my team, I encourage them in that don't downplay your past experiences. You may think that degree was not useful, or you wasted your time, or you worked in a place that was, I'm not saying work in a toxic place, but you worked with a difficult team member, or you worked with difficult patients, or you worked in difficult settings. It's amazing how much those experiences have helped empower me where I am now. And the tenacity is brought out in me, and also help me remember what I don't want in my practice,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
what I don't want to tolerate in my practice. And so it's been very useful. Would I want to go through it again to get here? No, not necessarily. I like the shorter version, but we're here. And so definitely the surgical skills with doing, sutures in the clinic or surgical wounds, people who are newly pregnant and, telling them, oh, let's go get your ultrasound. This is what to expect. And, like it all adds up. Yes.
So you talked about multi-generational influence a little bit earlier. Can you elaborate on that? Are you finding that you're able to impact whole families?
Yes. So I feel in most homes, and forgive me if I'm biased, the woman, you get the woman to come in, do her checkup, sell her on why she should prioritize her health. And that would help her be more efficient as a woman, as a wife, as all the roles she plays. She brings in the man, brings in the kids, brings in the mother, brings in the in-law. So it becomes, I change one person, I change the home. So simple things like, hey, how many fruits and vegetables should you eat a day? I don't know. One. Let's try 3 to 5. Fist
Ah,
size. Get a
uh-huh.
fruit basket. Put it in the kitchen. And see your kids start to eat fruits. You'll be surprised. And so you start those little things. She buys into the idea. She starts to feel a little bit better. Maybe sugars are a little bit better. She's able to sleep better with little tips, lifestyle and things like that. And then the family starts, it's like a ripple effect. Sometimes a little longer. I want it usually in a week or two, but sometimes it takes a year or two.
Right, sure.
But you can start to see the ripple effect because once you sell someone on the idea of like, you can have a better quality of life, then they also can convince their own sphere of influence that this is something to join the bandwagon on. So
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
And that sounds like tremendous impact,
Yes.
to help people. So now, how did you get involved with lifestyle medicine, and what made you start introducing it to or introducing it in your practice? As you kind of touched on that with what you just said. That's a
Yes.
lifestyle change, but talk
Yes.
about how you began to integrate that into your practice.
I'll be honest with you. As a physician, I felt sorry for the background noise. I'm in the airport. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had a last minute flight I had to
It's
take.
okay.
But so I I felt guilty as a physician for a while. You know, we sell our patients on the medications, and here's what you do for cholesterol. I've seen some of the damages, some not, I'm glad we live in an era where medications are an option, but I've seen some of the damages that medications have caused, and I felt that, like, you know what, maybe if we cut out this or increase this, we can correct it naturally. But I
Yeah.
kept that conversation was happening in my head. I felt I was the only one. Like, everyone seems to be okay with it. What's wrong with me? And then it was in putting myself in communities where I was not just like a passerby, but I was asking questions, and I was seeing that in conversations, connecting with other doctors, that they felt the same way. And there was this whole thing, lifestyle medicine. I'm like, oh my gosh, really? There's a thing, because I've been practicing some of those things. I grew up with a mom who's, you got the biggest grain, you got the biggest papaya or a
Yeah.
banana. You didn't get cookies or candy. So I've grown up in it. But to see that there was a whole actually supported physicians and clinicians in doing this, I was sold. And, I find that actually clients feel better when the lifestyle changes are made, and it's a long-term thing. It's not a back and forth. So
Sure.
why not combine the best of both worlds, the lifestyle and the medication, to improve quality and quantity? So,
Yes.
yeah.
And I would think also that that's empowering to them, because then they, have a measure of control over their health that maybe they felt like they didn't have before. Maybe they felt like they were at the mercy of the doctor or at the mercy of the medications, or this was just the way it was going to have to be.
Yes. And, I tell them, I say, hey, look, you're the one who's going to swallow the pill. So
Yeah.
you get to decide how we do this. It's a partnership. And so you have as much say in it as I do. Actually, you have more. So, yeah.
So tell us about your practice.
So the practice is in Mansfield, Texas. It's not far from Dallas. So I know most people know where Dallas is.
So now,
And
wait a minute, you said you started in 2019, the
20,
practice?
2019.
And so you had no experience running a practice prior to 2019.
No.
Okay. So wait, let's back up a little bit then. How did you get started? How did you get started? How did you get up to speed? Just even the logistics of running a practice. And
All
then
right.
tell us about the practice.
All right. So the mindset shift had to do it, and then it was a question of, so the next mindset shift was, who do I need to ask help from? And that's something I had apparently
Wow.
struggled with. I didn't know. So is who was going to help with the home front while we try to figure this out? Who would need to help me on the business side? Who knows what, like credentialing and all that stuff? So it was getting a team together. And I'll be honest with you, that was a challenge, but I also got to hear about the Entry MD Business School. So another mindset shift was I got to invest in myself to bring out
Yes.
the best in whatever it is I need to do. So those were some like simultaneous mindset shifts that happened. Got to ask for help and take the help.
Yes.
Got to get a team, and I got to start. And so got the team together. Of course, there were hurdles and challenges. The Entry MD Business School was a big. I have to give a shout out, Dr. Una. Very, very instrumental in the themes. Putting yourself out there, asking actually for help as opposed to trying to do it all by yourself. And then so we opened first as a telehealth, January 2020. 2020. No, my goodness, 2021. I'm sorry. And then we opened on ground July, and so now we've grown quite a bit. We have a larger team, and now we serve patients as young as the youngest is maybe 6 months, oldest is like 92. Men,
Wow. So,
women, yeah.
so basically, you had a pandemic baby.
Yes, 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 I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Now that's very interesting, very brave of you to take on something like that, during the pandemic with so much going on in the world. I applaud you. I applaud you for that.
Thank
So
you.
tell us
Thank you.
about the practice at this point. What's it composed of? What all do you do there?
Oh wow. So we do, the annual checkups. We do Pap smears. We see kids. We see adults. We do acute care as well. We also have what we call comprehensive screening tests, where we check for, do spirometries, check lung function, do carotid ultrasounds, to check to see if there are risk factors like plaque formation that we need to start educating patients on. We do health coaching. We do have a health coaching line through in health, where patients who are trying to maybe reach some or achieve some health goals, maybe weight loss goals, maybe energy goals, maybe better sleep goals, maybe mental health goals, have
Hmm.
an accountability partner virtually to support them through their journey. We do obesity medicine as well. Um, we're actually trying to implement more like group coaching as well. We have remote patient monitoring. So there are a lot of services centered around optimizing patients' health outcomes. And the goal is not just to make the labs look pretty, it's to
Yeah.
help our patients actually feel better, feel
Right. Right.
stronger, sleep better. So it's multiple verticals to help achieve that. So we have virtual assistants, and we have an on ground team as well. It takes a team, I have to say. Trust me, it takes a whole team.
So tell me, this is that sounds like a really big, comprehensive thing that you're doing. Is this all your vision? Are you modeled after something? Because when you talk about encompassing, mental health and, diet and sleep and all of those things, most physicians don't have the time in the exam room to even begin to address this. So how did you come to develop these processes and these procedures with your practice?
So a lot of things that kind of lead the movement is patient's concern. So you start to see a theme. Can't sleep good. I can't, I'm tired. And then you're like, okay, what are other resources? I'm one person. So that's where the team comes to play. So with having a virtual health coach, I have someone who can walk your hand and see you every week, every 2 weeks, every month, as often as you need to get that support. So it's not heavily dependent on me.
Right.
So that was one of the things that prompted, and one of the things I'm trying to implement, and one of the things that Dr. Una speaks a lot, you know who she is about having something run independent of me. That was a big mindset shift. Like as I've learned to empower others or ask for help. Like I have a nutritionist too. I did a Facebook Live earlier today. Like I'm gonna have you talk to my patients to talk about a diet plan unique to their culture. So
Ah, that's
I have
important.
different,
Yeah,
yeah, you know, those who are Nigerian, I have those who are Hispanic, I have those who are more the Asian. Like I want it to be relatable because if you tell me eat fruits and vegetables, what do you know that means in my culture? And
right.
so it's the needs of the patient that has triggered the need to diversify and also ask for help. I can't do everything. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
But I think that's a hard thing to grasp, or it can be for us sometimes. As physicians, as women, we tend to put a lot on ourselves. We put our superwoman cape on, and we feel like we can do it all. And so what made you get to the place where you understood that it required a team and made you okay with that? Like it didn't make you feel like you weren't doing your part, if that makes sense.
Oh, makes perfect sense. Level of impact. The highest level of impact is made when you invest in people.
Mm,
When you invest in people. And so I'm realizing that for me to make the most impact, I must be okay replicating myself in other people, teaching them how to do the things, showing them the tricks. Like I'm unique, granted, but hey, I could teach you how to be unique too. You
yes.
understand? And so that way, my legacy transpires through that person to whoever they're blessed to. So the impact just from me is infinitesimal, and I don't need to know every level of impact. So for
Yeah.
me, that's a life lived well. So I'm
Okay.
okay with it.
Okay.
It's yeah.
So
That's
now it
been a big
sounds like
eye
though
opener.
that you've had to do a fair amount of development with your staff to get them to the place where they take ownership for their part of the practice. Tell me about your how you develop your staff.
Whew. All right. So a lot of it is trying to replicate what I'm doing to them as well. So you got to read books. So we have books that we have them read, and then we huddle every day. We pray together. We encourage each other. So everyone is assigned a word of the day, either a fun fact about yourself or something inspiring.
Okay.
And so we challenge each other to think a little bit differently, and we encourage each other to bring up our like show up with our best versions every day. So it's a I learned something, I'm going to show you. I have to be patient and gracious enough to keep repeating and repeating and repeating. I have to get other materials too, so other things and other systems that have worked for other people. What did you do? How did you do it? Can I see that? Do I need to purchase that? Do I need to send you off for training? Right?
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So it's a teaching culture. It's a meeting and rinsing and repeat. It's a fostering of a culture where everyone is allowed to thrive. Because when people are allowed to thrive, they naturally start to bring out their
Yeah.
gifts. That
Yes.
even you're like, wow, you know. So it's a mindset thing. It's an endurance thing. Because some days I'm like, we had this conversation last week. Come on now.
But I think it helps, you mentioned being, the employees having the opportunity to be heard and then also to contribute. And I think a lot of jobs, people find themselves in, it's like they're just told what to do, just
Mm,
do this. And it's almost like they're not, that like their personhood is not respected. So, and it sounds like they get to tell people tell them about them, like who I am, what I'm about, and it makes you feel like you matter, right?
yes,
You know,
yes,
and also
yes.
sounds like you're creating almost like a family culture there, you know.
Oh,
And
that's big. I have to tell you, I've worked in places where I had to because bills had to be paid.
sure.
But I told myself, and I didn't know it was going to be this soon, that I would not tolerate like toxic. No, no, we squash. I love you. You're important to the team. We will miss you. But no, because we spend a lot of time, sometimes a week, more time that with those we work with.
Absolutely. Yeah, we
So
do.
I don't have time. Yeah, no time for that. Yeah,
So
yeah.
you so then you it sounds like you figured out how to be the boss too, because I think, that's for me, that's one of my hardest things is when things are not working, to be able to say, okay, this isn't working, let's do X, Y, or Z. How do you handle those difficult conversations?
I'll be honest with you, it's a support system. So I'll be honest, sometimes I text my husband like, "Oh, pray for me," because and then I have, and this is going to sound silly, I have sticky notes, like little things I put on my computer to remind me, there's grace for the day. Anger does not bring out the best in people. I have to be firm and be kind. I have to balance being a profitable business owner with making sure our patients are heard, but also a work culture. Like we have a sign in the office: no form of physical or verbal abuse will be tolerated at the clinic. So I've seen that when your team members feel like you care about them, they will vouch for you and they'll work for your best interest. But there's a not revolving, but there's a constant support system that I lean into.
Hmm.
Groups where I'm like, oh my goodness, what do you do in this case? I need advice, or where I need to make a firm decision and little nervous about it, but I know that I need to make an executive decision, not a
Yes.
emotional one. So
Ah,
as I practice doing it, it's not as hard. It's not as hard as you practice the balance of profitability and running a successful practice, being a fair boss, and being a generally good person. So yeah, there's a whole team that helps with that.
so it sounds like you're in a constant state of evolution. What do you do to keep that in motion?
Oof.
Your personal
Wow.
your personal development and evolution.
Okay. So there are things I do most days of the week that helps me, that helps center me. And I find that on days that I don't do them very well, sometimes it's a struggle. So for me, is my relationship with God. Is leaning into something bigger than me to power this dream and to fulfill this vision. And so my prayer, meditation, on a verse or scripture, because the whole essence of Livingspring Family Medical Center is centered around there's a word that I'm holding on to and the vision. And so that's very important. Exercise is part of it too. Sleep, but also I'm very careful about my surround sounds, my mindset.
Mm,
Like it's not every conversation I'll entertain. I
yes.
don't watch a whole lot of TV or news. Like I'm very particular about things I allow to influence how I think. I'm very protective of that space, and it's also having a support system that I'm vocal to. I
Yes.
need help. I could use support. Can you help me in this? Like I am so okay with asking for that support now, because yeah, it takes that. It takes that.
So it sounds like you have discovered vulnerability to make yourself stronger.
Oh yes.
Wonderful.
Oh yes.
Because again, I think that's one of the big barriers. For us, we don't like to ask for help. We don't, because we're the doctor, we're in charge, right? And so you don't want to have anybody know you don't know the answer, or you don't know what to do, or that you feel frustrated or like you can't handle something. But the reality is that we're all human beings, and nobody knows everything. And
True.
at the end of the day, we were all put on this earth to be in relationship with each other, right? So
True.
it should be okay to lean on other people, even though we don't.
I agree. I agree.
Wonderful. Well, I know that you are getting ready to catch a plane, and we're getting a little bit low on our time. But tell our viewers where they can find you. Let's start with that. What are your websites, especially if they're in Texas and they're looking for the best doctor they could possibly have? Tell them where they can find you.
Well, thank you so much. You can find me on Facebook at dr_Olabintan. And you can also find me Living Spring Family Medical Center. That's the name of our Facebook practice. Our practice on Facebook. Our website is www.livingspringmedicals.com. I'm also on TikTok at dr_Olabintan, and on Instagram at dr_Olabintan. Yes, there we go. And YouTube too. Living Spring Medicals.
And
Just
we
Google
will,
my name, you find
yes,
us.
we'll put those handles in the comments. So now I like to end on the same question or variation of the same question. And I think for you, what I will ask, what is the single best thing that or action that someone can take if they're thinking about starting a practice? What would you recommend?
Get a team. Get a team. Get a team for the home front. Get a team for the forefront. But get a team. Don't try to do this alone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Don't try to do this alone. And get the home front situated. I would say maybe first. Ask for help and receive the help. I'm not saying you're going around groveling. Sometimes you pay for the help. You
Yes.
pay for the assistance, but get the help. That has been very, very instrumental. Yes.
So I do have one follow-up question to that, though. You talk about get the team, but when we're talking about the practice side of it, how did you know the team? Like, how did you know which people to contact? How did you know what you needed? I guess is what I'm asking.
I'll be honest with you. The NTMD Business School does teach a lot about that team, like how
Okay.
to build a team and all of that. But it's a skill, and the truth is, though, you have to be okay with mistakes. You're gonna think I've hired some. Oh my goodness, I'm shocked that I let them stay as long as they did. And I've had people kind of just reach out to me saying, "I want to come work with you," and turn out to be the best thing since sliced bread. So it's a mixture. But there's skills, there are things that you could do to kind of sift out those who are your people, where you ask for what you need. If you want office drama, don't come work here. If you're looking for a work family, we want you. If you're ready to work and you're not all about just chatting at work, we're here. Like it's really learning to ask for, and then sometimes it takes time to get that right fit, but you need to ask for specifically what's important to you and to your culture, so that way you attract those kind of people to your practice. So when we did that with our some of our ads, we heard crickets. Like people were not right. We were like, ooh.
Yeah.
And then we've gotten better. I won't say quality of people, but people who are more aligned with our vision at the clinic.
Sure. So now, what? Tell me. I know we're supposed to be ending, right? What is your mission and your vision? Because it sounds like it's crystal clear to you. And I think that that makes a big difference too. When you have a clear vision, you know what you're working toward, and you can kind of share that with your staff so that you can develop a collective mission and collective vision.
So our motto is very simple: care sincerely.
Mm,
On the platform of God as the Livingspring. So we are conduits. So when we encounter patients, when we encounter our clients, they leave better having met us. We may not answer all their medical questions, but studies have shown that people thrive when they know they're cared for. Even if you did nothing, but you community care. So there's a culture from how we greet you, from how we pick up the phone, from handling difficult patients who said some pretty nasty things to us, how to handle the grace. We fire them, but we don't talk to them the same way they talk to us. So
yes.
that's the culture we try to imbibe, and we also try to practice also how to sustain that, because we don't want this hi welcome. It's
Yeah.
sincere, so it's a
Right.
work. It's
Right.
how are you self-caring so you can pour out. So
Mm.
it's work. The
Okay.
mindset
So
thing is a
so you're developing
yeah.
yourself, you're developing the staff, and you all in turn are developing the patients.
Yes, ma'am. That's the goal.
I love it.
That's the goal.
Very
Thank
good. Well,
you.
thank you so much for sharing with us. I really appreciate you joining, especially while you're in the midst of travel. Safe travels wherever it is you're going. And
Thank
we just
you.
thank you for coming on and imparting your wisdom to us tonight. So again,
I
guys,
appreciate you.
thank you. Looks like somebody has put Dr. O's information in the comments. And, like if you have questions, I will certainly pass them on to her. So take care. Have a great night, everybody. We will be off next week because I have some mommy duties. But I will see you the following Tuesday, May 2nd. Take care. Good night.